Hi there everyone, this is Scott, Gay Gamer's Navi Fairy, and I'd like to welcome you to another edition of the weekly Xbox Indies, where we review the games that make you say yay, and nay. Yay! I'm told that the title of this game translates roughly to Cheri's Heartpounding, Steamy, Unexpected Journey, which, despite being a mismatch of adjectives, is actually a fairly accurate title. You play as Cheri, a girl in a bath towel whose father got sucked down the drain. Naturally, Cheri grabs a machine gun and her pet bunny, who apparently doubles as a grappling hook, and goes after her dad. The controls take a little getting used to. You grab onto pegs on the wall using the bunny hook, and then move Cheri around the peg using the left analog stick. The thing is, when you're attached to a peg and try to move around, you're set to auto-fire, meaning that aiming is basically moving the left stick in the opposite direction of where you want to shoot. Falling in the water takes away from your health, but if you aim right, you can bounce on Cheri's dad's head for safety. It's an extremely difficult game, which could turn off some gamers, but it's just so quirky and fun once you learn the controls that I can't help but keep playing. After all, who can resist killer rubber duckies and a bunny grappling hook? Eh? This is The Adventures of Captain Becky, and I actually went into playing this game expecting to hate it. I figured it would just be some terrible game as an excuse to throw a scantily dressed girl into the game. And while the latter might be true, it turns out that this action platformer is actually pretty good, with 24 levels spread across 3 difficulties and responsive controls, if a little oddly mapped with A set to attack and X for jump. The more I think about it though, the more I like to pretend Captain Becky is a parody of typical video game objectification, rather than a genuine attempt at it. Maybe it's the way Becky's mouth is constantly in motion like a chewing giraffe, or maybe it's the ridiculous edit mode that lets you transform Becky from her regular creepy plastic anime girl self into any sort of hideous troll you can imagine. Sure, there are much better platformers among the Xbox indie games, but I'm sure you can also do much worse. Perplaxis is a color-matching puzzle game where you rotate 4 squares at a time to try and keep the board from filling up. You can collect power-ups to help you clear the board, like bombs, time freezes, and bomber planes. Normally, colors automatically get cleared when you match 6 or more together, but for building big chains for big points, you also have a recharging ability mapped to the A button that prevents any colors from being cleared for a short time. It's risky, but rewarding if you can pull it off, which is a nice balance to strike in a game. The other thing that makes Perplaxis stand out is how it incorporates seasons into the game. As you play, the seasons will change, with different colors coming in heavier quantities depending on the season. For example, spring gives you more green while winter has more blue. Sometimes it helps to wait on clearing a particular color if its season is right around the corner, which adds another element of strategy to take into account. There are an absolute ton of puzzle games on the 360 already, but Perplaxis is worth looking into if you have room on your hard drive for one more. Spatial Rift is an ambitious space shooter that tries to add a healthy dose of strategy to Rogue Squadron-inspired dogfighting. There's a campaign mode that tells the story of 2 warring factions, with humans pitted against, surprise, alien invaders. There's some variety in the campaign missions, though it all feels like a rather elaborate tutorial for the skirmish and online multiplayer modes. In those modes, the gameplay is like the Battlefield series, with both teams fighting over capture points spread around the map. Controlling these capture points speeds up a respawn timer, allowing you to bring more ships onto the battlefield. You can switch between ships at any time, as well as give general commands to individual ships, like capture, defend, and follow. There are 3 ship types that each have their own primary and secondary fire, encouraging you to play slightly differently when in control of each one. My main issue with the game is one of balance, since the team with more control points has an easier time bringing more ships into the battle, which just helps them pull ahead even further. In my experience, it's a race to see who can get 2 control points first, and then the match might as well be over. Even so, it's still a good game for only $1, assuming you have some friends to play online with. Solar Struggle takes 3D space shooters in a slightly different direction by taking away the Z-axis and restricting movement to a 2D plane. This seems like an odd design choice at first, but it actually makes the game much easier to navigate, so I'm glad the developers went that route. The main focus is the campaign mode, which spreads the story across 11 missions. I was pleasantly surprised to hear quite a bit of voice-acted dialogue in the game, since it's rare that an indie developer puts that kind of care into their stories. My favorite part of the game, though, is the ship customization feature. There are 3 classes of ship that you'll eventually get to pilot, and before each mission you can choose from a wealth of offensive and defensive gear to customize your ship to your liking. The only thing really keeping Solar Struggle from being a yay game this week is the enemy AI that seems a bit too focused on swarm tactics. Once you get down to 1 or 2 enemies, it's often easier to simply sit still and wait for them to fly right at you in an easy-to-shoot straight line. If the price were lower, I would be more willing to forgive the AI, but with so many great $1 indie games on the 360, the $5 indie games need to have something special to justify the price. And now for a special Shameless Avatar Game of the Week. First of all, yes, that red timer in the top right corner means I'm only playing the trial mode. And no, I'm not going to spend the game's $1 asking price for the sake of this review. It's not worth it. There are 3 modes of play, 2 of which I've played in the trial, and are pretty much the same. You and up to 4 friends run around collecting as many coins as you can. The third mode supposedly adds red coins to avoid, but I don't see any way that could possibly redeem the game. I mean, even when using the analog stick to move, you can only move in 8 directions, making even the simple act of walking around feel like a cumbersome mess. There are Mario Party minigames with deeper gameplay and better controls. Sadly, it'll sell really well because it has Avatar in the title, but hopefully now that you know that it's garbage, you'll at least be able to avoid wasting your time and money.